Well, we know as leaders, sometimes things happen. Sometimes you're faced with adversity. Sometimes there are things that you need to overcome. Today, we're going to talk about the Leader's Guide to Earning a Seat at the Table. I'm excited, folks. This is episode 215. Thanks for joining. Let's go. Well, hello there, gang. Welcome to the 30. I am your host, Patrick. We are here on another beautiful day, another week where we bring information and knowledge. If this is your first time watching the 30, I certainly want to thank you for being here. If you've been viewing us for a number of times, number of years, thank you, thank you, thank you. We're on to episode 215. So 4 years plus, we've been focusing on bringing the 30 to you. And I certainly want to thank all of you for being our viewers, being our listeners, and helping this to be a successful program. The purpose of the 30 is to provide relevant information so that we can help you to enhance your personal, professional, and spiritual lives. Today's episode, I have a very special guest. I have known her, I can't say how many years because then we'll start to age ourselves. Let's say I've known her a very long time and I've known her from company to company to company. And I'm excited to talk to her today about overcoming the impossible. Leader's Guide to Earning a Seat at the Table. And she's going to give us some nuggets as to how she's overcome certain things and how she have earned and how you can earn a seat at the table. So let's welcome. We had a couple of technical glitches, but she's here. Janet, I want to thank you for being here. I know we've tried this for a couple of months, but finally you're here. Tell our viewers who you are, what you do, who you represent.
Well, thanks, Patrick, and it's great to see you again. My name is Janet Laird. I am the president of WellRive. It's a senior move management company. I'm very happy to be here and talk to you about my experiences, and hopefully it'll benefit some of you.
All right. And how long have you been with your current position?
In my current position, I started with the company in October of last year. My current position, president. I've been president since probably March of this year.
Okay, so congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, that is great news. Fantastic. You have certainly earned a seat at the table.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fortunate. I sometimes have to look back and think, man, how did I get here? But I feel like I have got here through the experience and all that we all have in our own personal journeys, right? But I certainly feel like it was time. It was the right time. So it's not by luck. It's certainly by hard work and effort.
Great, great. So tell our viewers a little bit of your backstory, where you came from, the things that you did in the past professionally to get you to this point.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've told a couple people this already, so if they're listening, sorry to be redundant, but I think it's all relevant and it kind of explains, my journey a lot better. But I came from pretty humble beginnings, and I'm this tiny little squirt, right? So when I was like 17 and had to work during the summers uh, to pay some of my tuition, I went to a girls' boarding school back then. Um, I was really having a hard time finding summer work, and it was because I was just this tiny little squirt. I looked like I was 10, but I was really 16. And so no one would hire me. And so I decided to apply at this little local motel. A lot of truckers stopped by at this little motel, and they hired me to be a maid. And the cart was probably as tall as I was. And certainly I didn't want to be a maid, but I had to earn money. So I remember going through room to room and just thinking, oh my gosh, this is so hard work. This is disgusting. And I mean, I really have respect for the people in that industry because it was just hard work. And, you know, it takes someone to really be willing to do a great job in order to provide their clients a great service. So I, not that I could really think that way back then, that back then I was thinking, let me just earn my paycheck and get out of here. But I remember thinking to myself, I have to make the best of it. So my job is to go in there and make this room look spotless. And by the time I close the door, I'm going to walk out feeling proud that I transformed this room. And so I did that for a couple of summers to earn money. And then I went to college and I was thinking, you know, I've got to figure out what I should be doing. And I didn't have a lot of confidence back then. So I was thinking hard, you know, I just need to get a job. If I get a job somewhere, then at least I can start paying my bills. Well, I'll fast forward a little bit. And I got my first job, a professional job at a bank, and they hired me to help out in the accounting department. And I was super excited. And I thought to myself, you know, this is the time, if ever there was a time, this is the time for me to really think about how I can present myself in a way that people see me differently. Because if you just see me without knowing me, I'm this tiny little squirt, and no one, they probably don't think I'm very confident or have a lot of skills. So I had to really work hard at seeing myself differently. And that took years. I mean, it was not an easy road, right? It wasn't an easy path. So I finally started to really work hard at that by looking at other people that were in situations where I wanted to be. I wanted to be, you know, the supervisor. I wanted to be the manager. What kind of communication skills did they have? How did they present themselves? And I was very fortunate to work with some really strong women, not only at the bank, but I worked at another place. And this woman was just an amazing leader. She was very strong. And I was still, you know, a little, you know, sassy, and because I didn't have the confidence. And so I would try to use sassy words and be a little bit obnoxious to like be heard. But she believed in me. And her name was Eileen Side. And she was just an amazing leader. And then all of a sudden, I was promoted into the telecom department of that place. And I worked for another strong woman. And she saw what in me, what I didn't see in myself. And because I was so excited that people were actually giving me a chance, it propelled me to work very, very, very hard, but also to work on improving my communication skills, how I saw myself. And as soon as I started feeling confident about myself, then it just started opening the doors all the way around. And that's kind of what started it. I really had to reinvent myself and give my give me a chance to really believe that I could be somebody that I didn't see in myself at a very young age. So that was the start of it all.
Yeah, I see a theme forming here. Right. One is that you work for strong women.
Yeah, I did.
Right. And when it comes to overcoming the impossible, you had to overcome some self-esteem.
Right.
Right.
Very much so. And
Yeah.
when people give you a chance, well, first of all, sometimes it's luck. That's the part where I'm thinking, wow, someone gave me a chance. Was that luck, or did they see something? I think it was maybe a combination of both in the very, very beginning. But yeah, I'll never forget Eileen Side and Pam. They were both two wonderful women that really started me in the right direction. If it weren't for them, I don't know if I'd be sitting here talking to you today at the level that I'm at.
Wow. So going from where you started to where
Uh-huh.
you are now, obviously you talked about that early journey
Mm-hmm.
and wanting to be a supervisor and manager. Let's pick up there.
Okay. All right.
When did you become that person, manager, supervisor, and then the journey from there to where you are now?
Well, I finished my college degree because I didn't finish it straight 4 years in a row. So when my husband was in the military, he moved up to Seattle. He had an opportunity to um, get stationed there, and we both wanted to live in the Northwest. And so while he was there, I picked school back up, and I was able to go full time and finish up my degree. So when I moved to the Seattle area to join him, I applied at different places, and I got a job as a manager, operations manager for Time Life Libraries. And I'm sure some of you guys are familiar with Time Life Libraries, all the books and the videos that you get. And so I started leading that department, the operations department. And so that was like my first job that really gave me the scope of responsibility as a leader for a department of that size and responsibility in terms of revenue, et cetera. So that's when I became honed more of my skills and really understood business at a very foundational level. And then after that, I started working for a couple interim companies, but I landed at a company called Nextel Partners. And Nextel Partners was an offshoot of Nextel. And so I worked there as I can't remember my official title at the time, but basically it was a support position. And I was helping the Southeast region grow in terms of indirect distribution. And I had another wonderful leader there. His name was Jim Ryder. And he was just so amazing in terms of his intellect, his discipline, his drive, his focus. Um, and I was just so fortunate to work for him. And I remember applying for an analyst job. And so I applied for the analyst job, and he called me into his office and he said, Janet, I hate to tell you this. He said, but you're not qualified to be in this role. He goes, so I don't want to waste your time through the interview process. You're so great. Instead, what I'd like you to do is to become a regional ops manager in Texas. And so I was just like, what? I was just like blown away. And I remember working so hard at Nextel Partners 6 days a week. When I'd come in on Saturday morning, Jim was there too. And we'd be working and so hard to grow that region out with this indirect distribution. And so I was like, what? And he goes, are you willing to relocate to Texas? And I said, oh my goodness. So I obviously talked to my husband, and I moved out there, and he had to stay behind because he was still stationed and so in Texas, and so um, in Jacksonville rather. So I was like, okay, let me just pack my bags here, and I'll go over there. And so that really then put me to the next level, because I was then in charge of a regional area and scope of responsibility. And that was just an amazing experience. And talk about coming into an area and nobody knew me. And some people felt like it was here's Janet. And who, they didn't know me from Adam. And they're like, who is she? And why did they promote somebody from this region? And yada, yada, yada. And so I had to really prove myself to that group of people that I could help them, and that I could work together with anybody, and let's get this thing growing. Let's get that Southeast region moving along. And And so that was fun. That was really a great experience. And I'll never forget all of the things that Jim taught me along the way in that job. It was really a wonderful experience. And
And I
then
think
from,
that's
go ahead.
I think that's when I met you.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think so.
yeah, down in Texas.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think that's when we did meet. That's right.
exactly. Yeah, shout out to the former Nextel Partners employees. Well, Nextel Partners.
Yeah, that's right.
That was a fun company to work for. We definitely work hard.
Oh
Right?
my gosh, it was so it was so intense and so hard, but because it was so intense, it made you really strong in terms of focus and discipline and learning about efficiency and what's working and what's not working and I was so blessed to have so many great people to work with, and really learned from them and um, yeah, that was just such a wonderful thing. And then, Clearwire came along and because the Nextel Partners was sold to Sprint.
Mhm.
And when Clearwire came along, a lot of the same leaders that worked at Nextel Partner went on to work for Clearwire. And so I began working at Clearwire. And yeah, and so one of the things that's really, really important, honestly, is to have a very good network and to keep in contact with those people that meant a lot to you throughout the years. Just stay in contact with them, even if it's pinging them every so often, every 6 months. Hey, how are you? Da 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 da. If you have a strong network, then you probably don't have to go through that painful interview process. Now, provided that you're good at what you do, right? You have to be good at
That's
what you
right.
do, but
That's
no
right.
one likes to interview. So if you have a strong network and you're good at what you do and people respect you in your book of business, then shoot, you don't have to through too many interviews, and that's a blessing.
It is a blessing. So that's folks, that is one nugget when we talk about a guide to earning a seat at the table is to have a strong network or community, right? We call
Mhm.
it a community. And shout out to Chad. Chad said, "Hi, Patrick and Janet." Shout out to him. And I think we met
Hello?
Chad at Clearwire, right? Or is
Yeah,
it?
I think
Yeah,
so.
right. Yeah. I don't think he was a Nextel Partners at the time. I think he was at Clearwire. So let's talk about uh, what I'm going to do. I'm going to take about a 15 to 20-second break, Janet. And when
Sure,
we come back, I want to talk with you about some of the things that you've had to overcome and now these roles, right? These executive roles, to get you to have a seat at a table. And then I
sure,
want to talk about some of the very specific things that you can advice that you can give to our viewers. So
sure.
stick around, and I'll be right back.
Uh,
All right. So you see, connect, stay tuned, loading. We will give some more information towards the end of the show, but you want to be here next week because we'll make a major announcement when it comes to connect. So Janet, I'm talking to Janet again. If you have any questions or comments for her, drop it in the chat. I'm sure she would love to hear from those that we partnered with in the past, that we worked with in the past, and also those that she's currently leading. So let's talk about some of the things that you've had to endure, Janet, and as far as your leadership roles that help you to get to where you are now. Your
mhm.
desire role is to have a seat at the table. So let's talk about some of those
Yeah,
pieces.
sure, sure. Well, I think one of the things that sticks out in my mind is that when I've had to, uh, had a job, had a promotion, and I had a team that didn't really know me, and there was a lot of pushback, and not a lot of welcoming people, and I really had to kind of win the team over. That's happened to me several times. And so every time that that has happened, where I've entered into a situation where the team was unsure, the team didn't know who I was, the team thought somebody else should have got the job, I really had to work hard to earn trust. And it really is something that you have to try and earn every day, as much as you can. Because if you go into a situation like a bulldozer, and think that you have all the answers, and you're not humble enough to say, I don't know, that's a good question, let's find out together. Or, yes, I'm sorry that we have to do this, or change has to occur, and this has to happen at this time, and these are the reasons why. You do your best, and sometimes I've not been perfect at that. Sometimes I really had to reflect, man, I should have done this differently. um, and you have to not give up, but you also have to have a humble spirit and go into those situations with humility, just knowing that if just knowing that you will make a difference, this too shall pass, and just make sure that you work with the team as best you can. And then when you're wrong, admit that you're wrong. And that's okay, because you're not going to be right all the time. I certainly haven't been, and I've certainly made decisions that I wish I could have pulled back and changed, went in a different direction. But the one thing about that is, if you do make a mistake and you do have to pivot, uh, then that's okay too, because all of the mistakes that you make as a leader, um, as a team member, those will strengthen you in the end. They will strengthen you because they'll give you the ability to know how to get out of situations, and how to make a wrong a right, or how to make something okay be great. And so every time I made a mistake, or I had to fix something, because something happened, it really was a blessing. And at the time, certainly some of those mistakes were like, oh, Jiminy, and you're trying to fix it, and you're trying to like do what you can. And you're like, will this ever turn around? But they did. They turned around, and they've just made me stronger over time. And now I have absolutely no fear if something happens out of my control, or even in my control. If something happened that didn't go as planned, I know that I can navigate through that and get to the other side. And that gives me great, relief, and it gives me a lot of confidence, because I'm not afraid to make a decision. But the only reason I got there is because of all the mistakes that have occurred leading up to, every journey, right? So now if things happen, I just say, okay, what do we need to do to fix it? Let's try this, and it always works out.
I love these nuggets, Janet. It's okay to make a mistake.
Yeah.
You don't have to be perfect. Humility is the key. Keep striving, persistent, right?
Hmm.
And then in your bio it says overcoming adversity and focusing on what can be done instead of what can't has earned you a seat at the table. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. So, I worked for a person named Scott Fleming, and he was such an idea guy, right? Like, he had 1,000 ideas, and was fast thinker, and always just, drew some things out, for you to think about and really to execute. And so Scott, would say, "Hey, Janet, I need X, Y, and Z, and I'd like to have it done this way, and da 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 da." And I'm thinking to myself, "Oh my gosh, how am I going to get that done? And I don't know if I can do it exactly the way he wants it to be done." So, but my response to him was always, "Well, let me see what I can do, and let's get this thing going." I never told him that I couldn't do it, or I never said, "No, I don't think that's possible, Scott." I always just told him, "Let me see what I can do. Let's see what we can do here." Now, at the end of the day, he might have said, "Go this way," and I might have gone this way. But if the end result was what he was looking for, then that was what the goal was, right? But if if you start out in your mind, say in vocalizing no, if you're a no person, no, I can't do that. No, that's not a good idea. No, I can't tell the team. No, 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 no. It becomes part of your psyche. So you have to really change your psyche into, yeah, okay, all right, this might be a little challenging, but yeah, I think let's go ahead and do it. Let's try it. And that takes effort. But I don't ever like to start with the no. I like to start with a yes. And
I
how I
love
get
that.
there, how I
I
get there is tricky.
exactly. I love that. That is fantastic, folks. Yeah, I'm telling you, Janet is dropping some nuggets here. I hope that you're taking notes. If you're not watching it live, watch it. Make sure that you tell someone, share it with them so that they can watch it and replay, because this is great stuff here. Shout out to Scott Fleming. Yep, we all know Scott, right?
We do, we do, we do.
So let's talk about, if you were two or three. Well, let's take it as two. Give us two things, Janet, that you've learned over the years that you can share with an audience, with our viewers and listeners, that is most important to getting them a seat at the table.
Well, one thing for sure is that you have to invest in the time to learn. There are no shortcuts to it. The first time you go into a meeting and you have to present something. I remember my first jobs review, and I was nervous as anything because I had to present my book of business. And I really felt like I was prepared, but I thought I could have maybe prepared a little bit harder. And I was just like studying and making sure I knew everything I could. But there are no shortcuts to studying. There are no shortcuts to learning, to practicing. And I tell that to some of my teams to this day. If you want to be successful, you can't Google your way through life. You've got to invest the time to learn, and if there's a change in how you have to say something, or if there's a change in the process, you have to really learn it and understand it. And your data, if you're presenting something, you have to really understand it to be able to internalize it and to make it part of how you think and how you communicate that and hold people accountable and teams to it. So learning, there's no shortcut. Please don't Google your life away, thinking that you're learning something, because no offense to Google, but I mean, you've got to kind of do it the old fashioned way,
Mhm.
practice, read, write, whatever it is. You just have to invest in the time that it takes. And it's not easy and it takes a long time, but you just have to do it. And then, the second thing I would just say, and it's no secret sauce. I mean, you've heard other people say it, but you have to surround yourself with good people. And it is such a blessing to work with such a great team of people in my current job, and that has occurred in every job that I've been in, and I've had such wonderful people. Jess Newman, you know her,
Mhm.
wonderful leader, wonderful person. We mentioned Scott, Jim Ryder, of course, and the people that I work with now, Anthony. And he's the CEO of the company. And Kiera Deschamps, and all of these people that I work with, Patty Nanny, Patty.
You have the dream
um,
team. You have
yeah,
the dream team. Oh my
I
God.
know Carlos, our CHRO and COO, and then Brian, who's our CTO and CFO. They're all such wonderful people. Plus, the people that do what makes us successful out in the field. Such a great industry to be in. So to surround yourself with great people and doing something that you love, I mean, that's magical. That's just
Mhm.
that's just amazing. It makes you want to work harder because you're surrounded by all these great people, and you're like, shoot, I don't want to let anyone down. So I'm going to work harder because I have such a great team of people that work at WellRive, and I just don't want to let them down.
Good, good. So, guide to earning a seat at a table. Hard work. You can't Google yourself through life. I like that, right? I'm going to use
Right.
that one. Thank you for that. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
And surround yourself with a good team, with a great team
Hmm.
of
Hmm.
people.
It is a
Now,
great team.
before we end, I know that one of your passions is to give back to others and lend your experience to others. Let's talk about that. Why is that a big part of you, Janet?
Well, because people gave me a chance. I mean, again, I'm this little squirt, and if somebody didn't just say, okay, Janet, I'm going to give you a shot, I wouldn't be here. And so, whatever I can do to help people get to the next rung in their ladder, whatever it is, if they want to own a flower shop, if they want to be a great artist, if they want to do whatever, if I can help in any way in terms of like this broadcast right now, right? If I can help in any way, then I think I owe that because I was given a chance, and shoot, what should I do in return? Try to pay it back.
That's good. That's good, Janet. Thank you so much. As we come to an end, is there something that you would tell a younger Janet, a Janet at 20 years old? What would you, with everything that you know now, everything that you've overcome or gone through, what would you tell a Janet at 20 years old?
Well, I'd probably kick Janet in the rear end and say, "What are you waiting for? Get going. Life is too short." and and don't be afraid. But yeah, like you just have to kind of snap out of it. Sometimes you just have to snap out of your own funk and just get going. Whatever that means to you, you just have to get going instead of just, sitting around and commiserating about what you don't have. Just get going. And that's what I would tell the younger Janet. Just get going.
Good, good. Is it fun being at where you are now in terms of
Oh my
president of the
gosh.
company?
Well, not so like the title, setting that aside, like that's like the really the capstone of my career. So I'm blessed and I'm super excited to be a part of the company. But really, what makes me excited is what we do. We help. Most of our clients are seniors, and most of them are in need of some kind of support in the moving process or the components of it. And to be able to help them through that journey and support them is really a blessing. And so happy to be a part of that, certainly at this stage of my career.
Awesome, Janet. Well, no one comes into the 30 and leave unscathed, right? So we're going to do something what we call rapid fire. So I'm going to ask you 4 to 5
Oh,
quick questions, and I'm looking for quick responses. Don't even
geez.
think about it.
Okay,
Are you ready?
ready.
All right, favorite food.
Ice cream.
I have not heard that one yet, Jen.
I love
Wow.
ice cream. It's
Okay.
106 in Texas.
Well, yes, yeah, I can see that. Okay. All right. Favorite place to vacation.
Oh gosh, the beach. Do I have to name a specific beach?
Yeah, sure. Where?
Uh,
Country,
I-
island, state.
Islands.
Okay. Someplace in the
Jamaica was
islands.
amazing.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Next one. Favorite type of music.
Country.
Country music. All right. Last one. What is the last leadership book you've read?
Oh gosh, the last leadership book. To, to be honest, it's been a long while because I don't particularly enjoy reading. And I'll tell you why. And I know that's a horrible answer, but it's because for me, I've read so many early on in my career, and they all kind of start to sound the same. So what I like to do is I like to read biographies of people to
There you go. That's
understand what their journey has been. So I know that's probably the worst answer you wanted to hear, but
nope. That's
uh,
good. That's
Yeah,
good
that's
because biographies are great. I also enjoy reading them too because it's a source of motivation and encouragement, right? To just get going, as you said.
yeah.
All right, Janet. Any last words for our viewers and listeners?
Well, no, I mean, other than to say thank you for listening, I hope you've, gained some knowledge and some insight, and I hope I've helped. And yeah, thanks so much for inviting me, Patrick.
You are welcome. Thank you, Janet. And if you see Janet is on the road. She is in a hotel. We had some issues, but we didn't say one thing that we did say is it can't be done. We said it can be done, and she pulled her phone out, and this is how it runs. So,
That's
Janet,
right.
thank you so very much again. All the best. I look forward to connecting with you soon. Come on back, and let's do a part two.
All right. Sounds great. Thanks so much, everyone.
Okay, thanks, Janet. So I've been talking to Janet Laird. She is a wealth of knowledge. I hope you enjoyed what Janet had to say. Shout out to those that commented. I want to thank you for also being a part of the program. As I said, next week we are going to make an announcement. I hope that you are here to join us. It's all about connect, folks. It's all about connect. And I know some of you are wondering, well, what is connect? What's he talking about? Join us here on the 30 next Thursday, next week, and you will find out what it's all about because we're moving. The Jackman Group and the 30 are moving ahead. So we're going to announce our next opportunity for you, our viewers, for leaders, and that's all I have to say at this point. So until then, may God bless you and your family. I want to thank you once again, and we will see you next week. Go get them.